Thank you, sir. I'd like to wish a happy birthday to the member for Port Adelaide and recognise, potentially on behalf of the opposition, as somebody who is shadow or minister to her shadow for about 6 of the last 9 years, the contribution the member for Port Adelaide has made to the state. The fact that her service to the state has been authentic, heartfelt and consistent with her values, which were very, very clearly articulated today. I, for one, am very much looking forward to hearing many of Susan's contributions in the years ahead as she articulates an analysis of the Conservative agenda of the leadership of the South Australian Labor Party. And I know that she'll do that in a very, very true way. What the Treasurer just said reminded me of a story that I actually spoke to the member for Port Adelaide about earlier today, and I thought I would mention it today rather than tomorrow, because it very much fits in with that last category of advocacy that she made in her speech for the way that we operate in public life. People may remember, I know that members of the Labor Cabinet remember it fondly, although Susan potentially less so, that in the lead up to the 2018 state election, there was a policy document rewritten within the Education Department that, if read literally and taken to its logical conclusion, would have banned nativities and Christmas carols from our public schools. And as a shadow minister, there's only one pathway available in such a circumstance. And Tim Williams brought a cartoon from Dr. Seuss to the public light. There was some talk back, and we launched our campaign to save Christmas. And the good news is we succeeded. The legislation for the Education Act that began under Susan's ministerial time and was slightly adapted post-election to reflect the differences in opinion that had delayed it prior to the election, now includes, and presumably will forevermore, a specific clause protecting Christmas carols forever that gained the unanimous support of the Parliament. I apologise for the inconvenience and the frustration. In fact, I said today, of all of the things that I should definitely be ashamed of for my time in politics, this is the one that I am acknowledging but still least ashamed of, because we had a lot of fun from opposition at that time. In the subsequent year, the crossbench in the upper house, obviously having been persuaded by what the Treasurer described as an incredibly authentic and persuasive personality, took the Labor side on the 3 main issues of contention in relation to that bill. It was the Education Union's position on a number of committees. There was whether or not children's involvement in religious activities should be opt-in or opt-out. And there was a third key difference. We went, the Education Ombudsman, a position which we had advocated for in opposition and rejected in government, switching what had happened a year earlier. Susan, it's not public knowledge, I don't think, but Susan and Tammy Franks came to my office as the minister after this had been an impasse for about a year, and I wasn't sure whether we would ever pass this bill, and we would keep rattling on with the 1972 legislation that was no longer fit for purpose, which didn't have a framework for prosecuting truancy that was workable, that didn't have the education conferencing availability now, that had a whole range of inadequacies. The fact it didn't have the ability for principals in the Education Department to bar people for dangerous and inappropriate behaviour from schools. All of these things were denied the legislation because we couldn't resolve this impasse that had been going for 3 years. And that could have been something that the member for Port Adelaide held over us for a period of time, but she was focused on the outcomes at the end of the day. And she came with Tammy Franks to my office, and we worked on compromises that eventually involved a bit of give and take, a lot of creativity, the Graham report, amongst other things, and got the legislation through. 50 years of an update. And South Australia has served well by that. The Minister for Education and I have spoken a number of times in the last 2 or 3 years about some of the significant benefits to our students, young people, families, and importantly, teachers and leaders in our schools that have arisen from that. It wouldn't have happened without that willingness to set aside politics on occasion. And I think that the truth is that legislation passing got a modest newspaper article. I think we managed to get on a talkback radio a little bit. Compared to the Christmas story, it was a blip in the radar. But ultimately, in the years ahead, we're not going to be able to judge ourselves in this place by the amount of media hits that we've got or the funny memes that we've created. I mean, God help me, that Christmas story, imagine that being done now with the benefit of AI and the use of the word woke, which I don't remember existing in 2017. We're not going to be remembering our records as a result of the way in which we score those media hits or the points off our opponents. Our records, and frankly the only one that matters, how we understand ourselves to have performed, are going to be based on what we've achieved and the way that we've done it. I thank the member for Port Adelaide.
Minister for Education.